The Braxton family feud just hit a whole new level of ugly after Tamar's heart-wrenching confessions about Evelyn's dark role in their childhood trauma. The Braxton matriarch has finally snapped, and what she said has fans more shocked than ever. In a leaked phone call now going viral, Evelyn can be heard blasting Tamar, saying she never needed your money and accusing her of trying to tear this family down for views and sympathy. But it doesn't stop there. The call also reveals startling contradictions, cold-hearted statements, and a tone so bitter even longtime Evelyn defenders are backing away. Tamar's fans are rallying, demanding justice while Evelyn's allies grow quiet. Is this proof Evelyn has been hiding her truth behind religion and status all along? And what else is hidden on those tapes? This isn't just a family fallout. This is a full-blown reckoning. Let's get into it. When Tamar Braxton finally opened up about the deep family trauma she had carried for years, calling out Evelyn for manipulating Tawanda and remaining silent about dark truths, the world watched as the Braxton legacy cracked in real time. But just as sympathy for Tamar was reaching a peak, a new storm hit the internet. A leaked phone call surfaced between Evelyn Braxton and a mystery confidant, and it flipped the entire narrative on its head. The call, recorded without Evelyn's knowledge, begins with her voice unmistakably sharp, unwavering, and full of heat. Tamar thinks she got power now because she got people crying on podcasts and showing them old notebooks. She better remember who paid for her voice lessons. I didn't need her money. I raised that girl. She owe me. The internet immediately caught fire. Oh wow, this ain't looking good. Evelyn didn't deny anything, just came for her character. So she's mad about control, not the truth. In just 48 hours, the clip reached 1 million plays across YouTube and TikTok. Fan reactions ranged from heartbroken to furious. Many who had defended Evelyn after Tamar's accusations about Tanda were now backing away, stunned by her tone, her language, and her total lack of empathy. But that wasn't even the worst part. As the recording continues, Evelyn is heard saying, "Tamar always had a big mouth, always wanted attention. This ain't about healing, it's about hurting me because I didn't give her what she wanted growing up." That line, dripping with bitterness, shattered any remaining perception of Evelyn as the protective spiritual matriarch fans once revered. And then she drops the line that quickly became the title of every blog post and headline. "I never needed Tamar's money. I had my own before she ever sang a note." That sentence struck a nerve because no one said she needed Tamar's money, yet Evelyn brought it up as if it had been haunting her. The projection was real, the bitterness palpable, but it didn't stop there. The voice on the other end of the call, still unidentified, tried to comfort her, but Evelyn wouldn't be calmed. Let her release her little tapes, let her read her diaries. She's still the same girl crying for love and blaming me because I was the only one who didn't cuddle her. The insult was sharp, but it also unintentionally confirmed the pain Tamar had been trying to explain for years. That Evelyn emotionally distanced herself, played favorites, and gaslit her into believing her feelings were invalid. The online community pounced. Evelyn sounds more like a competitor than a mother. That's the most narcissistic clapback I've ever heard. She said more in that call than she ever did in 7 seasons of Braxton family values. Even celebs started chiming in. Tajip Henson posted a cryptic tweet. "Mothers who compete with their daughters, we see you?" Fans immediately connected the dots. And while Tamar remained silent at first, she soon posted a cryptic message of her own. "My voice has always been the threat. That's why they tried to break it." The audio continued to circulate. Even major news outlets like Entertainment Tonight and Page Six began covering the rift, calling it one of the most disturbing family scandals in entertainment history. But back in Atlanta, sources close to the Braxton revealed Evelyn wasn't done. Allegedly, she was planning to appear on a faith-based talk show to share her side, but that interview was quickly cancelled once the producers heard the leaked call. One insider revealed, "We couldn't move forward with someone who so clearly lacks remorse. It wasn't just what she said, it's how she said it. Cold, bitter, blaming. And just like that, Evelyn's once spotless public image crumbled." Meanwhile, Tony and Trina stayed silent. Tawanda continued to avoid social media, but fans began reposting old clips of the Braxton sisters looking visibly uncomfortable when Evelyn spoke. Moments that once felt like family tension now felt like a pattern of control. Even more chilling, several family insiders claimed this phone call was only one of many, and that Tamar's legal team had dozens of voicemails, private recordings, and old messages that show a consistent pattern of psychological manipulation from Evelyn over the years. So, what's next? If Tamar goes through with releasing the full batch of audio, Evelyn may face a full career and reputation collapse. Faith-based communities are already turning away. Podcast networks she was in talks with have reportedly gone cold, and the once revered matriarch of Ram's most famous sisterhood has become a cautionary tale. But the most devastating part, Tamar's pain, the screaming, the tears, the decades of being called dramatic, was finally vindicated not by a show, not by ratings, but by the very woman who once tried to silence her. And now nothing will ever be the same. As the backlash against Evelyn Braxton reached boiling point, the Braxton family found itself under an unbearable spotlight. Tamar supporters were everywhere, calling out Evelyn's controlling language in the leaked phone call and demanding accountability from the rest of the family. But all eyes were now on Toni Braxton, the oldest sister and the one who had always kept her distance. For years, Toni was viewed as the poised one, the private one, the queen who rose above the drama. But in this moment, silence felt like complicity with Evelyn's spiraling, and Tamar openly calling out her mother's hypocrisy. The internet wanted Toni to take a stand, and then she did. In a calm but pointed Instagram story, Toni posted a quote that sent the internet into a frenzy. "Loyalty to dysfunction is still betrayal." She didn't tag anyone, she didn't explain it, but she didn't need to. Tamar reposted it instantly, adding, "Finally, that was all it took." Blogs exploded with speculation that Toni was breaking rank, no longer defending Evelyn, and perhaps even aligning with Tamar. Fans flooded Toni's comments with support. "We knew you felt this way. It's never too late to do the right thing. Protect your sisters, not the image." But then, out of nowhere, a second audio leak dropped. And this one was even more explosive than the first. This time, it was Evelyn on the phone with Toni, and the conversation revealed a side of their relationship fans had never seen before. Evelyn's voice was frustrated, brittle. "You better not get on that girl's side, Toni. You owe me too. Don't forget who paid for your first studio sessions." Toni's voice was calm but firm. "Mama, this isn't about debt. This is about what's right. Tamar has a right to speak her truth." Evelyn fired back. "Truth? That girl always been extra, always looking for sympathy. You want to destroy this family for the sake of some trauma she made up." Toni responded almost trembling. "She didn't make it up. I just didn't want to believe it." "None of you said." Boom. There it was, Toni admitting she had known, suspected, and stayed silent. The call only lasted 6 minutes, but its impact shattered the internet. It trended on Twitter within 45 minutes, under hashtags like #Toni at Evelyn exposed again as Braxton down. And in this moment, Evelyn's power completely collapsed. Public figures who had once spoken glowingly about her now began issuing subtle statements of concern. A gospel magazine that had named her Mother of the Year 3 years prior quietly removed the article from its website. Pastors who once shared the stage with her started distancing themselves. Evelyn's followers began turning on her. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is a pattern. You played favorites, weaponized your daughters, and now it's all unraveling. We believed in you, but your own daughters are breaking. Meanwhile, Tamar, watching all of this unfold, posted a short video of herself in tears, not from sadness, but from relief. You'll have no idea what it's like to finally be believed after years of being called dramatic, ungrateful, bitter, and broken. The caption said, "I don't want revenge, I want peace. And now maybe I can have some." But Evelyn wasn't done yet. Just days later, she attempted to regain control by scheduling an appearance on a conservative Christian radio program, hoping to restore her public image. But mid-in host asked, "How do you respond to your daughters saying you silence their trauma?" Evelyn answered with a chilling deflection. "Sometimes we have to correct our children. That doesn't make us abusive. That makes us mothers." Social media pounced. "So now you're calling silencing abuse correction?" The way this woman rises to take accountability is scary. Evelyn Braxton is digging her own grave in real time. The station pulled the interview within hours, issuing a statement that they stand with survivors of family trauma. Now Evelyn was not only outnumbered, she was out of platforms. With Tamar, Tony, and even silent gestures from Trina and Tawanda suggesting unity behind the scenes, Evelyn's isolation became impossible to ignore. And fans began to notice a pattern in her behavior, redirecting blame, accusing Tamar of seeking attention, demanding loyalty based on financial or emotional debts, using religion to justify manipulation. Tamar reposted a fan's breakdown of these behaviors with the words, "When I tried to speak, she prayed over me instead of listening." And for the first time in years, the public saw Tamar not as the loud, messy one, but the truth-teller no one wanted to hear. The storm was already raging, but nothing prepared the internet for what came next. After Tony's quiet admission in the leaked call and Evelyn's disastrous radio interview, receipts began to surface. This time from deep within Evelyn's past, and these weren't just anonymous rumors or speculation. These were cold documented examples of a pattern many were now calling emotional tyranny. An anonymous source shared a set of emails and handwritten letters from Evelyn to producers during the early seasons of Braxton Family Values. In one email dated 2011, Evelyn reportedly demanded that Tamar's screen time be reduced and accused her of stealing moments meant for Tawanda's healing arc. Tamar is not the center of this family. Do not let her run the show. She's unstable, and I do not want her representing the Braxton name without supervision, the email read. Fans were horrified, so Evelyn was working against Tamar behind the scenes the whole time. No wonder Tamar always looked like she was fighting invisible battles. This wasn't dysfunction, this was sabotage. But even more disturbing was a handwritten letter confirmed by multiple sources where Evelyn wrote to a former pastor asking for prayers to bind the spirit of rebellion Tamar was showing during season 2. She described Tamar as too mouthy, dangerously independent, and in need of deliverance. That's not a prayer request, that's spiritual manipulation. She used religion to punish Tamar for having boundaries. This is deep, y'all, like cult energy deep. While Tamar stayed relatively quiet, simply posting, "Thank you for seeing me," the internet was already speculating that more was coming. And they were right. Because within 48 hours, Tawanda Braxton made her first move. After weeks of silence, Tawanda uploaded a black screen with the words, "I was never allowed to choose." No caption, no explanation, just that. But it was enough to send fans spiraling to Wanda's speaking without speaking. This is the softest, saddest confirmation. They were all under Evelyn's control. And then came the voice memo. Late one night, Tamar dropped a chilling audio file titled "The Moment She Lost Me." The audio starts mid-con conversation. A young Tamar, barely in her 20s by the sound of it, is pleading with Evelyn. "Tamar, why does Tawanda have to be around him like that? She doesn't even like him. Evelyn, that's none of your business. I told you she's doing it for the family. Tamar, that's not fair. She's not even old enough to make that kind of choice. Evelyn, she doesn't need to choose. I'm the mother. I know what's best." The silence after that line was deafening. Even in the audio, Tamar's voice returns faint and trembling. "You just made her give herself away. And now you want me to stay quiet too. Evelyn, don't be dramatic, Tamar. You always twist things." There it was, the exact gaslighting Tamar had spoken about. The moment she realized her mother wasn't just ignoring her, she was actively controlling and dismissing both her and Tawanda's realities. The voice memo was only 2 minutes long, but it sent shockwaves across the entertainment industry. Major outlets now openly referred to Evelyn as the disgraced Braxton matriarch. Former cast members from WE TV shows began speaking up, with one anonymous source stating, "Evelyn always ran the Braxton like a military base. Everyone walked on eggshells. Even longtime fans who had once defended Evelyn began turning their backs. There's no defending this anymore. She used love like a weapon." Tamar wasn't angry. She was injured and no one listened. As for Tawanda, she followed her cryptic post with a single comment on Tamar's audio file. "I remember it was the final confirmation the world had been waiting for, that everything Tamar said, the manipulation, the silence, the sacrificed childhoods wasn't fiction. It was fact." And Evelyn, she vanished again. No posts, no videos, no statements. Sources say she cancelled all upcoming church appearances and retreated to a private location for spiritual reflection. But fans weren't buying it. This ain't a retreat. This is retreating from accountability. She hid for decades behind that church lady image, and now it's gone. Evelyn Braxton was the villain of the story all along. Meanwhile, Tamar's Doueries, Silenced, was officially greenlit by 2 major platforms, and a teaser trailer dropped featuring her narration. "They called me crazy, loud, problematic, but I was just the only one screaming while everyone else whispered." The full truth was finally out, and the Braxton family would never be the same again. After Tamar's raw voice memo went viral and Tawanda's "I remember" shattered the last threat of denial, the internet was left wondering what Evelyn's next move would be. Would she apologize? Would she deny again? Or would she finally take real accountability? Well, Evelyn chose option 4, a carefully staged apology that failed instantly. She reappeared on her Instagram Live after nearly a month of silence, surrounded by gospel music with a large Bible resting in her lap and her demeanor almost angelic. Her hair was styled immaculately, the lighting was soft, and she looked straight into the camera and said, "I want to begin by saying I am sorry to anyone who felt hurt or misunderstood by me. My intentions were never to harm. I raised my children the best way I knew how." The comments started rolling in fast. "Felt hurt, girl. They said you emotionally abused them, not an apology. This is a reputation rescue mission. The best way I knew how is not an excuse for destroying your daughters." But Evelyn kept going. There were difficult times. Things were said that perhaps should have been handled privately, but I will not allow the enemy to divide this family for sport. "My door remains open." She never mentioned Tawanda's admission, never addressed Tamar's tapes, and certainly didn't explain her "I never needed your money" outburst. The live ended with a tearful him and Evelyn logging off to a sea of dragging comments. It backfired spectacularly. The internet wasn't having it. Influencers, fans, and even therapists began dissecting her apology, pointing out how it checked every box of a textbook: non-apology, minimizing, deflecting, no direct acknowledgement of harm. Classic narcissistic damage control, one psychologist wrote on TikTok. Meanwhile, Tamar stayed silent publicly at least. But behind the scenes, something massive was brewing. Just days after Evelyn's failed live, Tamar and Tawanda were announced as co-reants of the Courage and Healing Award, presented by the National Survivors Network, a prestigious organisation that honours those who speak out against generational abuse and familial trauma. The ceremony, broadcast live to millions, featured an emotional tribute from survivors across the country, many of whom said Tamar's bravery gave them the courage to confront their own family secrets. Tawanda appeared on stage first, wearing a simple black dress, clutching a locket with her younger self's photo inside. "I was taught to be quiet, but healing doesn't live in silence. It lives in truth." The audience stood and applauded. Tamar followed, tears already falling. And the moment she stepped up, she looked directly into the camera and said, "This is for the little girl in me who was told she was too loud, too emotional, too much. Turns out I was just enough to break the cycle." The standing ovation lasted over a minute. That night, and Braxton healing trended worldwide. Even celebrities like Gabrielle Union, Viola Davis, and Kerry Washington tweeted support, with Viola writing, "What Tamar and Tawanda are doing is bigger than any show. It's spiritual warfare and they're winning." But Evelyn, she posted nothing. Not a single congratulation, not a passive-aggressive repost, not even a quiet like, nothing. And her silence spoke louder than her apology ever could. Tamar then took to Twitter and addressed the elephant in the room. "Forgiveness doesn't always mean reunion. Some people don't deserve front-row seats to your healing." Boom! The audience roared in the replies. "She's talking about Evelyn, period. Tamar is living free, and Evelyn's stuck in the image she created. The crown has shifted." Then came the final twist in part 4, a document leak. A former Braxton Family Values producer dropped a confidential production note from season 3 that revealed Evelyn had threatened to pull out of the show if Tamar was given too much narrative control. The document read, "Evelyn is concerned that Tamar will turn the family against her. She has requested tighter editing and a reduction in scenes where Tamar challenges her authority." This revelation sent fans spiraling back through old episodes, rewatching moments that now looked entirely different. One scene from season 3 where Tamar burst into tears after Evelyn accused her of betraying the family was reposted with the caption, "We missed it." She was crying because she was being erased in real time. With the truth out, the power shifted. Tamar and Tawanda were now not just survivors, but leaders in a national conversation. Evelyn, once protected by status and religion, was now isolated, exposed, and unraveling. And still, the story wasn't over. Because Tamar had hinted that there was one final audio recording Evelyn didn't know she had. A call that would change everything. The world had already seen Evelyn's mass crack, her failed apology, her manipulation exposed, and her own daughters walking away from her control. But what came next sent shockwaves through every corner of social media and entertainment. Just as the internet started to settle, Tamar posted a video on Instagram with a single bone-chilling caption. "This is the call that ended everything. I wasn't supposed to have this, but now the world will." The video opened to a dark screen with just audio playing, a phone conversation between Evelyn Braxton and a private family advisor recorded shortly after Tamar's infamous hospitalization in 2020. Evelyn's voice was cold, almost calculated. Let her cry. Let her post her little depression poems. That's the price she pays for talking too much. The gasp from the internet was instant. Is she talking about Tamar's suicide attempt? This is beyond heartless. This is evil. She said that after Tamar nearly died. Tamar sat silently in the background of the video, listening as the clip continued. "Evelyn, she embarrassed me. She embarrassed the family. Now she wants us to feel sorry for her. Please." Tamar always plays victim when things don't go her way. That moment right there was the breaking point. Tamar paused the video, then addressed the camera directly. When I was fighting for my life, my mother thought about her image. Not my heart, not my pain, just how it made her look. And you'll wonder why I stayed silent for so long. Tears welled up in her eyes as she whispered this call was sent to me by someone in her inner circle, someone who couldn't stomach it anymore. The internet erupted. Protect Tamar #cancel and Braxton #motherwound. Fans were devastated, not just because Evelyn had dismissed Tamar's mental health crisis, but because it revealed a level of emotional neglect and ego-driven cruelty that confirmed Tamar's cries for help had always been ignored. Even people who had remained neutral began speaking out. Taji P. Henson tweeted, "Mental health isn't a game. If your mother becomes your trigger, it's time to cut the cord." Jada Pinkett Smith reposted the video with a caption, "I see you, Tamar, you're not alone." Therapists flooded TikTok and Instagram to explain the damage of maternal narcissism and how Tamar's story was a textbook example of familial emotional abuse. But it wasn't just Evelyn feeling the heat. The leak pulled back the curtain on how much the Braxton brand relied on Tamar's pain for content and how no one, not even the network, protected her. Then came the second wave. Tawanda posted a 2-slide Instagram story. Slide 1, a photo of Tamar lying in a hospital bed, wires attached, eyes swollen. Slide 2, text that read, "She almost died, and all they cared about was the family name." That post shattered the last barrier. People began demanding that We TV issue a public apology for exploiting Tamar. Sig's trauma. Petitions to remove Evelyn from upcoming speaking events gained hundreds of thousands of signatures in days. Several sponsors tied to the Braxton family brand publicly cut ties with Evelyn. Even religious leaders began speaking out. A well-known bishop who had once praised Evelyn on national television said, "There is no righteousness in cruelty. Correction without compassion is abuse." And Tamar, she released one final statement. "You can survive without the people who broke you. You can heal without their apology. And you can win without their approval. I'm living proof." Meanwhile, Evelyn Braxton, once the respected matriarch, the image of order and strength had vanished from the public eye completely. No statement, no denial, no remorse, just silence. Sources close to the family say even her closest allies began pulling away. Her name was removed from 3 upcoming conferences. A long-standing book deal was cancelled quietly behind the scenes. A former church friend anonymously told press, "We enabled her for too long. We confused control with leadership, and now we see the damage." What started as a family feud had become a national reckoning about maternal power, generational trauma, and the price of silence. And the most powerful voice in the room, the girl they tried to shut down, the one they called too loud, the one who never stopped crying. Tamar Braxton. As the world watched Evelyn Braxton's fall from grace unfold, there was one final moment no one expected to actually happen: a face-to-face confrontation between Evelyn and Tamar. Cameras weren't supposed to be rolling. It wasn't staged for television. It happened in private. But thanks to a security cam leak from a mutual family friend's estate, the footage found its way online, and it was everything. Tamar walked into the room first. No makeup, no glam squad, just sweatpants, tired eyes, and a visible weight on her shoulders. Evelyn sat on the edge of a sofa, posture stiff, hands folded like she was preparing for battle. "You asked to see me," Tamar said flatly. "I did," Evelyn replied, "because we need to fix this." Tamar didn't sit. Her arms were crossed, her voice steady but cold. "You mean you need to fix your reputation?" Evelyn flinched. "Tamar, I raised you. I made sacrifices for you girls. I may not have been perfect, but I did my best." Tamar's face twitched, not with anger, but with exhaustion. "Your best left me in a hospital. Your best left T silent for 20 years. Your best was protecting your pride, not your children." There was a pause, a silence so thick it could break bone. You weren't just a strict mum, Tamar continued. You were cruel. You were calculated. And when I cried for help, you told people I was dramatic. Evelyn's voice cracked for the first time, not from anger, but something resembling pain. I didn't know how to raise girls who had voices. Tamar blinked. Then you shouldn't have punished us for using them. The clip cut off there. It was only 93 seconds long, but it tore through the internet like wildfire. This is the confrontation we needed. No yelling, no drama, just a daughter holding her mother accountable. Tamar is the definition of surviving the unthinkable. Within hours, blogs, fan pages, and therapists began analyzing the interaction. A trauma expert wrote, "This is what it looks like when a survivor faces their abuser. Calm, detached, but honest. Tamar didn't need to scream. Her truth was enough." Even Tawanda reposted the clip with a caption. She said, "Everything I couldn't." The world now saw Evelyn not as a misunderstood matriarch, but as a woman who weaponized motherhood, who raised her daughters in an emotional prison and built her public image on their silent suffering. But the most telling part, Evelyn never apologized. Even after the confrontation, sources say she left the meeting tight-lipped, blaming outside influences and spiritual attacks for the way things had unfolded. Meanwhile, Tamar and Tawanda were already moving forward. They announced the launch of the Braxton Healing House, a non-profit dedicated to providing therapy, legal resources, and crisis intervention for women escaping emotionally abusive family systems. The response was overwhelming. Donations poured in, survivors reached out in droves, and within a month they had enough support to open centers in 3 cities. At the press conference, Tamar stood at the podium, smiling with tears in her eyes. "We're not just breaking cycles, we're building exits for the people still stuck in them." She paused, looked at the crowd, then added, "To every daughter who is called too much, to every sister who stayed silent to keep the peace, to every woman told her truth was inconvenient, this is for you." The applause was thunderous. Even Tony and Trina showed up, standing behind Tamar and Tawanda, united not by a perfect past, but by a shared decision to stop hiding the cracks. And Evelyn, she was nowhere to be seen. Her legacy, once polished, pious, and unshakable, had become a cautionary tale about ego, about control, about what happens when a mother refuses to see her children as human beings. People don't speak of her with admiration anymore. They speak of her with lessons. Meanwhile, Tamar continued to thrive. She released a memoir titled Loud, My Silence Was Never Golden, which debuted at #1 on multiple bestseller lists. Tawanda began a podcast dedicated to survivors of family-based trauma, featuring guests from all walks of life. And her first episode, titled The Day I Lost My Voice, racked up 2 million plays in 48 hours. Together, the sisters who were once broken by silence became the loudest, clearest voices in a generation of truth-tellers. And Evelyn, she faded quietly into the background. Never jailed, never publicly prosecuted, but held accountable by the very daughters she once controlled. This wasn't just a family feud. This was a generational storm finally brought to light. Tamar's courage to speak her truth, even at the cost of losing her mother's love, has shaken the entertainment world to its core. And now we want to hear from you. Was Evelyn always this controlling behind the scenes? Did Tamar and Tawanda's bravery finally force the world to see the truth behind that polished Braxton legacy? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's unpack the real trauma behind the fame. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap that notification bell, because this story isn't just entertainment, it's a mirror to so many untold stories in our own families.